This episode was co-produced with EO Zurich, a chapter of the Entrepreneurs Organization. EO is a global peer-to-peer network exclusively for entrepreneurs. It helps transform the lives of those who transform the world. On November 6, EO Zurich will be hosting the third edition flagship Entrepreneur Summit 2026 at Novo Campus, the Circle Zurich Airport. This year's summit tackles a question no entrepreneur can afford to ignore: AI, opportunity, or threat? Expect a full day of thought-provoking keynotes, honest panel discussions, and peer-to-peer exchange on how artificial intelligence is already reshaping businesses and what entrepreneurs should do next. The summit will bring together 150 entrepreneurs and business leaders. Head over to entrepreneurs-summit.ch to learn more.
Entrepreneurs do not like to talk too much about luck and timing because they think their skills made everything.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And now, here's your host, Sylvan.
Jann, a very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you as a guest today.
Yeah, hello Sylvan, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. You are an entrepreneur and investor, and today we want to really talk about and dive deeper into the success formula of entrepreneurship. I think that's a very catchy title, so I'm very excited to dive deeper with you on that specific topic. To set the stage a bit, I'm curious to learn more about how you actually got into entrepreneurship. Who or what inspired you to take that path as an entrepreneur?
To be honest, I don't think that I had really a master plan to become an entrepreneur. I think the curiosity, the wish of independence, that's what led me in my journey. Mm-hmm. So is it from the beginning when I worked as trainee at General Motors to working for different management and software companies, up to building up in Planion, then CPM Partners, and to the exit. So I think I was always driven by wanting to learn more, to improve things, and to create things. And automatically, when you have this mindset, you get into opportunities where you could become an entrepreneur or a co-founder or such things. So I think that's more what led me so far.
Curiosity in that sense, if I hear that correctly.
Exactly, curiosity, be open to new things. Yeah, actually, I like uncertainties. Mm-hmm. So I like when the things are not fixed, when you have to deep into it and solve problems at the end. Yeah. That's, I think, what has led me so far.
And in 2025, you actually completed a successful exit through the DPE acquisition of CPM Partners, a company that you helped build. What led you to that moment and what actually changed for you afterwards? With an exit, people usually think, okay, you have a lot of money, a lot of freedom. What sort of changed for you, not only business-wise, but also on a very personal level with that exit?
Yeah, on the one hand, you hear a lot that nothing changes after such an acquisition. But to be fair, it's clear that the financial pressure decreases. You change roles from a building role to more steward role, and but what I think what is more interesting is what stays the same. And I think it's still, I enjoy to learn, I enjoy to build things, and enjoy to build up teams or companies actually. So this stays, this you cannot get rid of.
But what does that do to your motivation? If your financial pressure is sort of taken care of, you're now financially free, and doesn't that change your motivation to a certain degree when you're like, okay, why should I go through all the ups and downs and the pain of building a company if I already have enough money and I don't really need more money?
I think this gives me higher freedom. I was always doing a kind of stress testing. Mm-hmm. What's the worst case? What could happen to me in the worst case? And obviously, if you have some funds, some reserves, then these borders can be moved a little bit. So therefore, I think it gives more power to do things. and obviously it supports in the motivation.
I see. And I mentioned in the introduction, we want to talk about the success formula of entrepreneurship. So you have gone through the full life cycle of starting companies, building and scaling it up to the exit. So what is that success formula of entrepreneurship?
Wow, that's a difficult question. So if I look back on 20 years and put this in a formula, or into my formula, actually it must be my formula, then I think what was really important were, on the one hand, social competence, the mindset, I would say cultural execution, multicultural execution, domain expertise, and also, obviously, timing and luck is always something which is important. And a thing which always came, probably you will hear in the whole podcast, is this lifelong learning. The whole life to want to learn things. I think this was very important. So I think these elements needs to be multiplied, because if one of them is missing, this might jeopardize the others, and then you might be less successful in your endeavor.
I love that overview, and now I'd like to dive a bit deeper into the actual puzzle pieces of that formula. Let's start with mindset. Many people always discuss, are you either born as an entrepreneur or can you actually learn how to be an entrepreneur? So that mindset, that entrepreneurial thinking, is that something you can practice, you can train, or is that something that you sort of have to be born with to be able to use it or have it?
Yeah, I think you need both, probably. It's clear there are people with naturally more on curiosity and having more tolerance towards risk or uncertainties.
Yeah.
But still, I think you can really train also the skills to become a better entrepreneur. So I think it's both. It's natural, but also growing into that.
If you don't have it from your genes, from your DNA, can you still train it to be on par or on equal level to be a good entrepreneur?
I think you need really to have both.
Okay.
Because all over my career, I found really brilliant people, but they actually didn't want to have this independency. They didn't want to take risks. And obviously, for them to become an entrepreneur is more stress than being happy. So that's why you need a certain DNA, but again, you can also grow into it.
Yeah. And on that mindset level, we often talk about great founders, good founders, but then there are also exceptional founders, like really the top world-class founders. What separates them on the mindset level?
Yeah, I would say this keyword probably fits the best is resilience. I think to be able to get back, it's very important, because many founders, many entrepreneurs have fallen down, lost customers, lost markets, did wrong decisions, hiring decisions, investment decisions. But what is important is to persevere and get back. And to get back, I think that's one of the key characteristics which makes an exceptional founder.
I love that. And nevertheless, it can also be challenging because you don't want to ride a dead horse, right? So often we hear, oh, you just don't have to give up. You just have to keep going. But when do you stop going? When is the tide high enough that you say, okay, I leave the water. That's not for me, or I change course?
Yeah, that's a good question. When do you say it's stop and we don't continue? I think that's a difficult question. In my journey, I had several points in time where really I had to decide, shall I continue or should I stop? It was after the Lehman Brothers crisis. I had also a crisis with one of my main shareholders originally, and then also pre-COVID, after COVID time. And I persevered. I believed in my idea, and at the end it worked. But that's what I said in one element of the formula is also the point of luck and timing. But my perseverance helped me to survive in difficult times, and then also to make use it in the right time to do the exit. So it's a difficult question. It might be that just around COVID time, I would have been bankrupt. And then all my efforts for 15 years wouldn't have gone to something positive. But obviously, if it would have happened, then I would have stand up again and done something different.
Right.
So therefore, that's the perseverance and which makes, I think, a founder to get back always, to be resilient.
What I really like about that perspective is that it's tied to you as a person, as a founder, but not to the company. So even if the company does not succeed, you try something else and probably start or join another company. And I think that's probably a very good way to look at it. It's not necessarily just the company, it's you as a person.
No, exactly. And it's your personality. But obviously, when you are a founder and you lead the company, then obviously you will attract people which are a bit minded like you or which have a similar DNA. At least this should be the goal. And then it helps also for the organization to get in that mood of success. Yeah.
The second ingredient of your formula is lifelong learning, something that you have practiced very well and very often yourself, because you repeatedly returned to formal education while already running companies. Why was that the right call? Because many entrepreneurs that I know, they say, oh, I would have even dropped out of university earlier if I had the chance. I don't want to go back to formal education. I want to learn on the job and build things. Why was the formal education an important part of your journey?
Yeah, because I really think that the complementarity of learning by doing, but also learning in a frame, in an academy or in a university, brings you much more to become more complete. And for me, it was always important to do the right education in the right moment. So originally, when you are small, it's more a matter of execution. Then you need to train your execution levels. Then when you grow, when you get bigger, it's the leadership that matters. Then when you are in a exit mode, it's more M&A or negotiation skills which are important. And also if you are more on governance and board level, then it's more on that topic. So I think there is always a right moment to do some more deep dives. And that's always what I said to me. If I need to learn something to complement my skills, my capabilities, then I do it right. Mm-hmm. I do it intensive, and then I get something. Instead of just being superficial, reading books or reading papers, I really wanted to be 1.5 years in details with that topics. And I like it, so this helped to do it.
For sure. You just triggered me a bit, because for me, the podcast is also a bit of a learning instrument. Like, I can ask a lot of questions to really great people that we have on the show. And then at the same time, I can take what I learned and go execute it. So I feel that combination of learning something, no matter if it's in a conversation or really like you dive deeper and you have a class or a course to attend to, but then also going out there and executing that in your own business, that's probably even strengthening the learning experience almost exponentially, I would say.
Yes, and really it helps you, even if I did not, again, do a master plan in the sense I will execute exactly what I have learned or what I got from the case studies. Often when you do those universities, these masters, then you do a lot of case studies. Yeah. But implicitly, when you deal with a lot of issues, then you have it in the back of your brain, and then you can apply it in certain moments. And I think that's the real learning, when you get those information back in your head and you can apply them in the right moment. And I think that's what brought me the most out of it.
100%. Another really important part is often the exchange amongst other entrepreneurs. You are a member of the board of the Entrepreneurs Organization, or EO in short, here in Zurich. What has created more leverage or value for you over time? The academic input or the peer exchange with other entrepreneurs and the access to their networks, etc.?
Again, I would say it's really the three elements. Learning by doing, yep, the academic work, but also the peer exchange which we have at the Entrepreneurs Organization. And the more you can share with other entrepreneurs, the more actually you grow yourself, and you improve yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most that I get out from the Entrepreneurs Organization, that you get to know you much more, and you are in an environment with same-minded people who had also those same thoughts, some issues, some questions. And then you get another aspect of learning which helps you to grow as an entrepreneur. So this is what I really like in the entrepreneurship mindset that in the EO that we have.
And it's really cool because many people have done what you tried to do already maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. So that experience of someone who actually walked the talk, it's invaluable to me.
Yeah, and I see also in our forum in EO, it's good. I see the acceptance when you discuss, if you have proved in brackets that you have been successful, you did some good stuff, then people around you are also listening, and then there is really a nice dynamic exchange, which on the other hand gives you also other perspectives, which brings you again something. So this self-sustaining system is actually great.
That's amazing. The third piece you mentioned is social competence. And there's actually a fun aspect to that because you played professional football at Young Boys in beautiful Bern. What lessons from sports can you actually translate directly into leadership and social competence in that sense?
Yeah, I think there are many parallels. One particular one is for sure that talent alone does not really help. I mean, it's a base to have talent, but you need to work hard, you need to be disciplined. And also the combination of the right skills to have a complementary team is what makes a team to be successful in football. And it's the same in the business. If you have only stars, you won't be successful. You need to find the right combination. The skills needs to be complementary. And I think also you need to have the right orchestrator in both worlds. A good trainer, but also a good orchestrator on the company. And this will help you to be more successful.
I love that. And I think the complementary skill set, it's really a key ingredient to any team. And then you still sort of have to make them work together, right? That's then probably the cultural part or the shared values or something like that. Do you think that founders often underestimate the relevance and the importance of social competence in their businesses and focus maybe a bit too much on just the pure skill set or the CV and what people have done before?
Yeah, probably. Often it's so that with a good compensation package, it's done to have the right skills. But I think to really retain talent, it's more than compensation. I think you need to build up trust. Appreciation is very important, and purpose. And without this, you won't retain and attract people in the mid or long term. So therefore, to hire the right people to keep them in your organization, to develop them, has a lot to do with social competence, in my opinion.
And can you measure that social competence in any way? Like, can you sort of benchmark or measure where you stand, and also how to improve it, and then measure if you actually improved?
Yeah, I think that the easiest way actually is really to look at feedbacks that you get. And also if you see that you can repeatedly attract good people, excellent people, and if they stay with you, or even if they quit you but you stay in touch with them, you get even friend with them because they had the chance maybe to grow themselves into an entrepreneur, right, or to do something else. But if you are able to be around such people, I think this gives you a feedback. And similarly, if people quit you and don't talk to you anymore, then probably it's also a sign. So it's really better to have the other way around.
I once heard, I don't know who said it, but they said you should aim for 0% voluntary churn at your company, that people only leave your company in case for private reasons, because they want to move to another country or because they can get a role somewhere else, like becoming an entrepreneur and being the founder or the CEO somewhere that you cannot offer them. But beyond that, you should actually aim for 0% people leaving you on their own because you do such a good job that they want to just stay there.
Oh, I think that's not a good idea. To be honest, in the more than 20 years as entrepreneur or before as a manager, I think you don't have always 100% best people in your team, so that you hire. I think there is a need of fluctuation, because if you have people that are not performing, they will have an impact on the performing people. So I think you need to have a balanced approach, but you cannot have a too big difference on the low performing and the high performing, which will lead more to troubles than something else. So therefore, it's important that you really look at the overall status, and then obviously you need to have people quitting the company for the sake of the whole.
That's another thing I heard actually last week from two Bernese founders who had a nice exit, and they said, we owe it to the high performers that we don't keep the low performers around. It would not be fair.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously at the beginning of the journey, it's not easy, because I did not like fire people. Even, if you are successful, then you need to fire a person. It feels unnatural. But with the time, you see that keeping people that are even sometimes toxic might really destroy a lot in your company. So you need to prevent this, and then you need to take those hard decisions. And with the time, with the experience, you learn how to deal with that. I think it's a thing that you get to learn.
Absolutely. Good reminder. The next ingredient you mentioned is multicultural execution. So you actually build yourself teams and also businesses across borders. What cultural differences matter the most in practice?
I think in my case, I really liked to go out from the very beginning. Usually you build a company and you wait till it's big or stable before you go international. But I did a bit different way. I started the company and went probably after 1 year, being 5 people, to the next country. And I did this in the last 20 years, being at the end more than 15 countries, having built up teams. And I like to build teams internationally in other cultures. And I think it's also one of my strengths that I'm able to deal with these different cultures. You need to deal with it because often they have different mindsets, different approaches to solving a topic. And that's why you need to get in their thinking. But at the end, it's also very enriching because you see that you can solve issues, you can solve problems, having different approaches. And this again brings you something for you. Then you get this cognitive flexibility, which helps you to address other topics in other circumstances. I liked it to go abroad, and also I realized the different approaches to deal with issues, and this brought me this cognitive flexibility, which I was able to reuse then. So it's all enforcing systems, which I'm looking for.
It's like a bit of a training your muscle in that sense.
Exactly.
Nevertheless, I wonder, there are many studies out there, right, that say diverse teams perform better, they make better decisions, etc. So if you think about working in or with different cultures, there is also probably a price that you pay for that. It can need some translation in that sense, because it can be looked at like as a foreign language. It could slow you down or maybe complicate the decision-making process. Is it overall usually worth the price that you pay? Or is there sometimes it's worth it and sometimes it might be an overkill, depending on the company phase that you're at, for example?
That's a good question. I think in my case, initially, maybe it slowed down a little bit because you need to learn the other. Even if I had, I think, an affinity to other cultures. I speak 6 languages. I'm also a bit multicultural from my background. So it helps to be maybe faster in understanding the others. But obviously, it takes time to really understand how they think, how they approach the things. But again, in the mid and long term, it gives you this flexibility, which will help you and bring you value. So probably starting, it will slow you down, but at the end, I think it will give you some speed to get better decisions in an international environment.
So it's a bit like an investment. You reap the benefits later.
Yes, exactly.
Are there specific cultures that you felt were particularly a great fit for you and your companies that you were involved with?
Yeah, I like particularly to work in the Middle East. Okay, there I have the chance that I do understand Arabic. I speak a little bit. So I like their approach. It's really founded on really trust. So before you do really good deals, you need to earn the trust. But once you earn the trust, then a lot is possible. And as I'm more a person which is into relationships, it fits to my way. So I like to have intensive relationships and then also do business, because then you have both. It's something to do business, but it's also something to have fun with the people you trust and where you have a good relationship.
I like that. And how and where do founders best get this multicultural experience? Is that something that they should do early on when they study, for example? Or is that something that you say, hey, just go and hire people or acquire customers from all over the world to really train that muscle, as we just said before? What's sort of the best way to get started in that multicultural experience?
I think there are different ways, but as you said, maybe to do an exchange when you are young, to study abroad helps you to open your mind, or to work abroad, to work in another country, to spend a few years in different countries, and then work in international teams, building up teams in countries, building up organization in countries. I think there are different ways to do it, but also starting with just traveling a lot, which will give you, I think, a lot of perspectives. So I think everybody can get to this international groove.
And EO also helps in that sense a lot.
Yes, exactly. It's an international global network. And with all these events that we have everywhere, is it in Japan, in Mexico, or all over the world, you will find people which are minded similarly to you. They will be already open to you because they know what is your background, how it's already in a trustful environment, and this helps a lot. So really, definitely EO helps a lot.
It was so cool. Last year I visited China and Japan and met actually local entrepreneurs through EO. It was outstanding. It was so cool.
No, it's really perfect. So to do some ads for EO, I mean, you can go in any country, you can call them and they will welcome you. They will treat you as you would be an EO member from their country. They will trust you because we have this philosophy, this frame that brings all together. So it's a wonderful organization for entrepreneurs.
100%. We have two more ingredients of the success formula. The next one is domain knowledge. How important is that deep domain expertise versus the general entrepreneurial skill of knowing how to hire, how to build a company, how to fundraise maybe? How do you sort of look at those two different skill sets?
Yeah, probably in a journey, it might differ. Now, in my case, originally, my domain expertise was very important. I mean, I was an expert in performance management and strategy execution, KPIs, all these topics for big organizations. And the good thing is that if you know that even if you lose one consultant and you need to complete a project, that you can do it because you are an expert, gives you again a good feeling. If you are only an entrepreneur and you are dependent of the skills of the others, then you have less freedom. So initially, this helped me a lot. But obviously, at a certain time, when you have all these skills around you, if consultants are replaceable by others, then the entrepreneurship the topic gets more and more important, and that's where you can start to scale. So initially, I was very happy to be an expert myself. So I was able to be a joker, jumping in projects, doing projects, complete projects, in escalations, be there. And with the time, it's more the entrepreneur role which takes over. That's where you can really start to scale and make the things bigger.
I feel the domain expertise, as you said, is really important at the beginning because for two reasons. First, you better understand the problem that you're solving, and that can save you a lot of time to get to a product market fit. And the second is, once you then start to hire people, it's also a lot about credibility, I assume. Because if they think, oh, my boss does not even know how to do my job, how should I respect him or her? Which is not impossible, but it just makes things maybe a bit more difficult. And then as you grow the company, building the company becomes way more important.
I completely agree. So credibility is a good word that you mentioned. Credibility towards the people that you hire, but credibility towards the customers.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't believe that you understand, it will be difficult that they will buy from you.
Right.
So therefore, this credibility can only be at the beginning if you are really also an expert in a certain topic. And with the time, or maybe as an anecdote at the beginning, I sold the projects and they always wanted me to do the project.
Of course, yeah.
And then you need to find in a certain moment the way, okay, yeah, I will be there, but actually somebody else will do it, but I will make sure that the quality is done. Yeah. And then the next step is, oh, actually, I have great teams. They will do it. I'm not in the operations anymore. But again, this will take time to get to that. But over the journey, eventually you should get there. So to be able to continue to grow.
Exactly that switch, right? From you doing everything to you doing nothing operational. That's extremely hard.
Exactly. Particularly if you like to do the things. So that's another topic. So you need to learn to really delegate, to give away, to really focus on what brings more value to the company. And at the end, it's then scaling, which brings really the value.
To do that, I mean, that's a whole different podcast probably, but to do that scaling well, because in the end, that sort of determines the outcome of your company, whether you are an SME and it's mainly you doing all the work still, or if you're able to hire people to build structures and processes to then actually get people do the work for you and for the company, build something much bigger than your 24 hours. How do you manage that? Do you have any like key learnings from your journey to make that transition happen successfully?
Yeah, I think for me the moment was probably in 2015 when I realized, okay, I really would like to scale. And for this, I would need to start to do M&A. I knew that with the size at that time, we were maybe 40, 50 people. We had already acquisition discussions with investment companies or strategic investors. And I saw that the valuation was very little at that size. So I knew I need to grow. And organic growth was really not easy to get the right people fitting. So I had to visualize actually how I'm going to grow. And I really visualized that I would do acquisitions. And then automatically I got some opportunities. And originally with the help of the banks, I was able to acquire a company in South Africa, one in Switzerland, then one in Sweden. And this brought me to another size, which gave me already more value. But then in 2018, after also long discussions for M&A, I realized we are still too small. We need to be more than 250 people, 240 people to have a real value. And then it's where I really was thinking of a merge with another group, which would put us on that level. So I really visualized the different steps from 2015 to prepare an exit. So I was already in my mind in that mode. And you need to prepare it and to get to that size, which makes it valuable to do an exit.
Right.
And I think I was lucky that from a timing perspective, it went well. Even that, as I said before, at initial COVID time, it could have been also the bankruptcy because we had to pay back banks for the acquisitions and so on. And if you don't have work anymore, it's difficult to pay back. So therefore, luck, timing is always sometimes a difficult thing.
And that is exactly the perfect segue to the last part of the formula that you mentioned, luck and timing. So how much of the formula or the entrepreneurial success in the end does come down to timing and luck?
Yeah, obviously, entrepreneurs do not like to talk too much about luck and timing because they think their skills made everything. So I'm a great skilled entrepreneur. That's why I was successful. But if you look at the journey, I think I have put actually my passion in the right topic. I think passion is also important. And for more than 20 years, I did performance management for big organizations. And I had to motivate myself to stay there for 20 years. So this means I had to be passionate, so like to learn and to continue to evolve. So hard work is one thing, but perseverance in that topic is the other thing. So timing and luck, I think you have also to do something for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you meet always people, then you can create new projects, you can do maybe new organizations. So your exposure to luck gets bigger. So I think if you the more exposure you have to luck, the more luck you get. So I think you can do something, but it's not controllable.
Yeah.
So you can only increase, I believe, the exposure to it, and hoping that with the probability you will get more luck than if you don't do anything.
Yeah. But I take away two core things that you just said. One is you have to survive long enough that luck can find you, but you also have to put yourself out there, that the more opportunities, the more sort of chances you generate, the luckier you could potentially get.
Exactly. So you have to be on the move always to attract the luck.
It's funny, in the last company I was involved with, I did not start it, but two founders did. They survived for like 10 years, and before COVID hit, they almost shut down the company. They were like, this is going nowhere. Then COVID hit, and because of the product, the software they were building, things exploded. So COVID was like a huge boost for the company. And imagine 2 years ago, they would have just shut it down, and then everything exploded, and then there was a successful exit. It's crazy, right?
It's really crazy. It really sometimes, it's like a line. It can go up or down in the same second.
Yep.
And I can just agree, COVID time was particularly, at the beginning it was such a pain to survive, but then it exploded in our business. The whole digital transformation exploded. So from one day to the other, you get from minus value to extreme value. So really crazy.
Yeah.
And you are not able to control that moment. So if it would have lasted a bit longer, then you would have been bankrupt. And because it was the right path, you were able to grow again. So that's a bit about this timing and luck.
Yeah.
But you need to stay at least for years, hopefully putting it on the right horse and be moving to get the luck attracted.
Yeah, and only time will tell. That's
exactly.
The thing. And I assume there's also a lot of parallels from your professional football days, right? Because there you can put in all the repetitions, all the trainings, but then in the end you give your best, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I assume it's probably also a very similar thing.
Yes, obviously, and then you have also the topic of injuries.
Yeah.
Bad luck. You got injured in the bad moment, which kills your career.
Yeah.
So there it's even more tough, I think, because you don't have time then to recover.
Yeah.
Because if you have a bad injury, to get back, it's very difficult. So in the business, at least, I think you have a bit more time to recover. In really, yeah. So, it's difficult sometimes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's hard for entrepreneurs when things are outside of your control.
Exactly. That's what you would like to keep all under control, but
it's
not always the case.
That's life. Now, we completed the success formula of entrepreneurship. If you had to pick only one of the ingredients we just talked about, which one for you is the most relevant or most important?
I think the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I like the mindset.
Yeah.
To persevere, to like what you want to do, to be passionate, and to be resilient. This mindset is very important.
That's where it all starts.
Yes.
And continues, basically, to
continues.
the finish line. Exactly. So if you now look back across all your entire entrepreneurial journey, what are you most proud of?
Yeah, obviously to have built these companies in these different countries, to have done a successful exit is for sure very valuable. But what remains at the end is more the friendship that you have really built. Yeah. Employees that became really friends, which evolved to to also themselves to entrepreneurs, but also having great relationships to customers, which you visit during the vacation or with the partners. So being able to build profound relationships is what I take at the end and which gives me the biggest value. So this is really what I enjoy to have these relationships.
That's beautiful. Every time I think about happiness, not in a business, but on a personal context, I always think it's the personal relationships that make your happiness to a certain degree.
No, for sure. I really can support this thesis. I mean, money, hey, it's okay. It gives you a certain freedom, but it does not give you a long-term purpose, long-term motivation. I think what is long-term is really more the relationships, the friendships that you can build up. At least that's how I feel it.
And now, of course, we're also very curious, what is next for you? You had the exit, you sort of reflected a lot on entrepreneurship as a discipline. You probably already have the next course or education program that you want to sign up. So what's coming up for you next?
Yeah, obviously, most people around me think that now that I did the exit, that was it. I would now retire and enjoy a bit life. But as I said, this was never my goal, my target. So, no, I need to continue to learn, to build, to create. And that's what I'm going to do. On the one hand, I have just founded a new company called Movens, and it's in the mobility sector. So getting away from all this AI stuff, at least as a core business, because in our software consulting business, it's always a topic right now, and you don't know exactly how it will evolve. I thought I would like to reduce this exposure. And I invested actually in car dealership, after sales, and a repair center. And I want to build an ecosystem around this. So that's what is just being doing right now. And this is really exciting, building new teams and building a new holding, a new group in that context. That's one thing. The second thing is that in the exit, I did a carve out of several companies which I had, and now I combine them in one new group, which I want also to continue to develop. And I will accompany this. I'm there just as a chairman, but I will be in the background. And the third thing is, again, the learning. You have expected it probably. So I started a doctorate.
Wow.
And I want to do more in corporate governance, because I'm also very eager to take on certain board roles, and I would like to bring also the board effectiveness further, and bringing the performance management knowledge that I have on executive corporate level, maybe also on a board level. And that's why I thought it's interesting to make a doctorate there.
Absolutely. Wow, amazing. I see the entrepreneurship success formula continues to live and be implemented.
Yes, because this is what I like, what I enjoy, and I think at the end you need to do the things that you enjoy if you can, and this as long as possible.
Amazing. Jann, to wrap up the episode today, I also will ask you a few rapid fire questions, and you have to answer ideally in one sentence.
Ooh, okay.
You ready? Let's go. I know you also do investments, so I wonder if you had to choose being an entrepreneur or being an investor.
Entrepreneur.
Easy choice. Switzerland or international markets?
Based in Switzerland, but the market internationally.
Love it. Learning by doing or learning by studying?
Both. Yeah, learning by doing gives you the experience, but you need to frame it with an academic background.
I expected that one. You prefer structure or flexibility?
You need structure, which gives you freedom for flexibility.
Nice. One skill that every founder should master earlier than most do?
Yeah, hire the right people.
It sounds so easy, but it's so difficult to do.
Exactly, but it can cost you a lot to do the wrong things at the beginning, but it can give you a lot if you do the right hires at the beginning. So it's crucial. At least At the beginning, it's very crucial.
Yeah.
It gets less over time if you are a bigger organization, but still there it has an impact. But at the beginning, it's very crucial.
So in that sense, the bigger you get, the slightly more tolerance for mistakes you get.
I would think so.
Jann, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I wish you all the best and lots of success with the new projects and with the continuation of the implementation of the entrepreneurial success formula.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvan. It was great to have this chat with you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.